What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck profile here on TCG University for the card game UniVersus. My name's Tam, and today I'm going to be showing you the Nightmare deck that we played for this week's Campus Championship. Let's jump into it. All right, so Nightmare. What does Nightmare want to do? Well, Nightmare swings a big sword, and he makes pretty much every attack inside of this deck 2 damage bigger. He punishes my opponent for blocking in 2 ways. Number 1, once per turn, I get to lift the card back up to my hand, and number 2, I discard the top 3 cards of your deck and burn you if you find any attacks. And so Nightmare is just like this really, really big aggressive monster, and a lot of times he can get away with playing ultra aggressive because of this 29 health. He kind of just slays down his whole hand as attacks and then just doesn't really get punished because, you know, he's Nightmare. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the attack lineup. The first attack that I want to talk about is Reduction. This is the only attack that doesn't get the extra 2 damage off of Nightmare, and pretty much the only attack that you're willing to block inside this deck, or at least block for free. This card does say that all of your other attacks get plus 2 speed and plus 2 damage, so 2 and 2, which is just like, it's a lead-in card, and then the rest of my string becomes even crazier. So with Reduction, all my attacks are getting plus 2 speed, plus 4 damage because of Nightmare and Reduction in combination. Not to mention, this card has a 1 mid-block randomly, with Breaker too. And so not only is this card really good on the field and killing your opponent, but it's really good just as a disruptive tool in order to, you know, stretch out that 29 as long as we can. Up next, the other good lead-in attack we have is for Demon Grab. This card says while it's in the card pool, your opponent can't block with action cards. And one of the biggest ways to stop Nightmare is the card Stop, which commits him on block. And Demon Grab says that they can't do that. In addition to that, this thing does get the extra damage off of Nightmare, and it is a throw, and we've gotten to the main engine of this deck, is the throw engine. So all of Nightmare's cards inside of this deck in particular have the throw keyword, which means that they even when they are blocked, they will still do half damage, and then Nightmare gets to lift them back to his hand, and then he just plays him again. It does get a little extra damage, 4 extra damage to be precise, so it can be a 1 high for 8 on a throw, and that doesn't count towards progressive, but checking that 6 is actually kind of difficult in this deck. Up next, our next throw is for Wind Embrace. This card gains you Vitality, makes your opponent lose Vitality, gets an extra 2 damage off of Nightmare, and so it just smacks them for 8. It's a 3 high for 8, or if they block it, they'll take the 4, you pick it back up, and can either play it again this turn or next turn. With Nightmare, you can pretty much guarantee you always have an attack every single turn. It doesn't have a block, which is a little scary for Nightmare to pick back up. He'll probably just jam it back down again because, you know, it's free damage. But, yeah, this card's very, very good against Nightmare. Up next, we've got for Life Force Thread. Once again, we don't necessarily use the momentum part of the deck. I didn't even mention it on Reduction, but this card is just like a 4 mid for 10, and then if they block it and they pick it up, it's just another 4 mid for 10. So if they don't block one of these, because, you know, they have to use 2 cards to block 1 card essentially, it is for 15 damage. Right? This 1 card does 15 damage if they only block 1, so they have to block both, and they still get touched. They still get touched for 10, which, you know, is half of a 7-hander's life. And then the last stack we're playing is in the same boat as Life Force Thread, but it's Vicious Madness. But I can pay 2 additional Vitality to make sure that they can't block with their cool high or lows. You got a Flame Aura? No. Vicious Madness is going to just stop that from happening. And once again, it's another 4 mid for 10, can just do 20 damage if they, or 15 damage. If they block it, then don't block it. Okay, on to the actions. We are playing for Revoke. This card just stops an enhance from happening anywhere on the board, whether it be from an action, an asset, a character, foundation, or attack. You can just stop it, as well as it lets you build out these big strings. If you saw our attack lineup, we have a bunch of 5 difficulty attacks, and so playing big, long strings is actually pretty difficult. So this Revoke helps us build a bit, and then push on into our mid game, which is just play as many Vicious Madnesses as we can find. And then the last action we're playing is we're playing for the Toro Brothers. Once again, a big, huge disruptive tool. Excuse me. It is Revoke, but only on foundations, and you get the added bonus of destroying that foundation. So this just cancels. This cancels and destroys. And then you have the choice after it gets played of whether you want to remove it from the card pool, like Revoke does, or if you want to draw an additional card. This card is very, very strong, and combining all 4 of these together basically say that your opponent's not allowed to do pretty much anything to stop your crazy big throws from killing them. Whoops. All right, from here, from our assets, we're only playing one. We're playing one Colossus. After one of my cool throws deals damage, I'm going to flip a problem card on your board. Just saying that, oh, you have a cool asset that stops me? No, stop it. This is our main asset tool inside of the deck. We do have one other, but we'll get to it in a bit. So on to our foundations. The first aggressive foundation that we have is we're playing 4 Demon Mutation. Not a card that sees a ton of play, but really, really strong in this deck. It just says Enhance Commit. This attack gets extra damage equal to its speed, only playable if the attack's damage is double its printed speed. And so on your Life Force Thread or your Vicious Madnesses, this just says Commit for +4 damage, which turns your 10 damage attacks into 14 damage attacks. And if you got a couple of these popping off, you can be like, oh, I just killed you. Especially if you can make these trigger more than once inside of a game. Saying all of your throw attacks get another +4, +4, +4. Eventually, they'll add up to an additional attack, which is crazy strong. And in the same vein, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, we've got triple English Aristocrat. Enhance Commit. My cool throw attack gets 3 speed, and then I'll gain 3 vitality. As we said before, blocking with Nightmare's Face is really, really easy. And so being able to be like, oh, you hit me for 4 last turn, well, I'll gain 6 on my turn, and you didn't block my cool 10 damage throw because it was a 10 mid for 10. Oh, and I'll gain my vitality. Neat. Onto our flow cards, we are playing double True Identity. This card just lubes up my attack strength. Like I said, we've got these real thick difficulty attacks, and I need to be able to play them as long as I can. Pretty much Nightmare's game plan is if I have an orange card in my hand, I'm gonna lay it down on the table. There's no reason for me not to, especially because of how throws and how he works. And so this just kind of safety nets me, so I have at least a little bit of defense on my opponent's turn when they try and swing back. We're playing 4 Hell's Reach for the same reason. If I check poorly, essentially once per game, I just get to re-ready this by flipping this, and it is playable while committed. So I got my True Identity triggered. I still check that 3 on that 5. That's okay. I'll commit my Hell's Reach and then uncommit it. It's like nothing happened. It's like a little get-out-of-jail-free card. In the same vein, we're playing triple the Azure Nightmare. As opposed to a once per game, this can be used over and over and over again because it's just discard a card out of our hand in order to ready it, as well as a bit of a stun deterrent because if they stun you, using the stun keyword, they will lose 2 vitality, just making it easier for my throws to kill you. Still, consistency-wise, we're playing triple Fallen Angels. This just lets me have a really good build turn. The point of this card is I've got a really cool 2 difficulty that I want, and so I play out my attacks, my foundation string, and then I play a very safe Fallen Angels. I reveal the top card of my deck. Oh, it's a 4. I want to play a cool 2 diff, but I'm going to check a 4. So I will discard it or leave it and just have a bit of knowledge as I attempt to play my last card. Or if I need to, I can block as against a breaker, which increases my difficulty. Look at my check. Oh, here's a 6. I know to leave it on top and then play my cool attack afterwards. We're playing triple new Empress of Netherrealms. Nightmare doesn't do anything if he doesn't find attacks. And so the more attacks that we can find inside of our hand, the better. And because of us playing English Aristocrat, these cards cancel out each other's cost. I'll pay 3 to flip. I'll commit, and if I hit you, I gain 3. It's a throw, I hit you. So this says I can commit a foundation and flip a card in order to just draw a card for free, which seems like a fair trade-off. Up next, we're playing triple Profane Sanctuary. This card is in here exclusively to stop Breaker. Breaker can end our turns because of how difficult our attacks are to play, because they're all, pretty much all the good ones are 5 difficulty. And so if my opponent attempts to Breaker me, I'm just going to, nope, stop it, cancel it. Please knock it off. On to some defense, we're playing triple Faithful Monster. This just helps us block when it's necessary. As Nightmare, we're probably only going to be blocking once, maybe twice per turn, and using our Vitality as that extra bit of a meat shield. But this does say response, I can pay 1 of that Vitality, reduce your attack speed by 2, and then at desperation, change your attack zones to the perfect zone and guarantee my block. I'd rather pay 1 than take, 6 or 7, depending on the strength of the attack. And if that doesn't work, you're not fancying the block, we've got one last of its kind. This card does have 2 increased damage abilities, but the more alive ability is the lose 2 vitality. This attack gets -4 damage. Basically, it says all of your attack get -2, but I do have to pay vitality in order to do it, which I have plenty of. I can trigger this a ton of times. I do want to mention this does say minimum 1, so you cannot completely negate an attack. If they have 5 damage on their attack, it's the perfect card to use. It drops it all the way down to 1. Up next, we've got, in order to combo with Last of His Kind, we've got double Uniting Rebels. While at Desperation, just gain 1 Vitality, trying to stay at that 14 Vitality, because Desperation is less than half of your current Vitality. So 15, you're not at Desperation. 14, you are. Up next, we've got triple Outworlds Errors. This is our other asset hate card. This just says, if my opponent has a cool problem card, I will pay X Vitality and then put it back up in their hand. And we don't even necessarily care if they block with it, because I'm Nightmare and I'm just going to pick my card back up and play it again. And so, sure, give them blocks. That's totally fine. And then the last card that we're playing in my disruptive field is Double Good and Evil. This card says that if my opponent tries to interact with Nightmare's response, which is like picking cards up, if they have like an out of your league, you can discard a momentum, which you get very easily because we are playing throws. They do damage. You go to momentum. You can just commit this, discard your momentum, and then pick it back up, and it can be live every single turn. And so there you have it. There is the Nightmare deck that we played for this week's Campus Championship. If you like this deck and you want to see more about it, make sure you check out all of the matches out here on youtube.com/TCG University. They'll be in their own separate playlist. Or you can join us live by going out at Twitch, twitch.tv/TCG University every Tuesday at approximately 3 o'clock, where we play a 8-man top 8 bracket, single elimination. And if you really, really like us and you want to support the show, the best way to do that is by going out to Patreon, patreon.com/TCG University. Sub out there, get access to our Discord, where we're talking to a whole bunch of awesome people about the really cool Nightmare decks that they're making. So with that said, thank you very much for watching the video, you guys, and stay learned.